You got careless or just selfish. Maybe you only miscalculated, but things went super wrong. Maybe it wasn't such a big deal, or maybe it really shouldn't be bugging you, but it just keeps coming back to bite you in the... Are you that person in your friend group who's messed up enough times that your buddies use your name as a synonym for blowing it? Bob Ross said, "There are no mistakes, only happy little accidents." That's fun to think about when you're having a really good day, but say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Jeez, who died? Oh God, who died?
Yeah, a little paint and positivity might not be enough to keep you from kicking yourself for a while. Making a big mistake is embarrassing. It's easy to forget that other people screw up too. Big mistakes, small mistakes, sometimes the size of the fumble has no relation to how terrible it makes you feel. We all have a past mistake that makes us full body cringe. You just want to find a way to travel back in time and do one thing differently. But here's the deal about time and space. At least in the here and now, this is a one-way street. No U-turns. So why do we obsess over the things we regret like we could actually go back and fix them? You might what-if your way through life without ever taking a step back and realizing how much time it wastes. If you've been agonizing over something you regret, I've got some advice. Stop beating yourself up. Whatever it is that has you pining away for what might have been, whatever your big regret, the reason it's a regret and not a worry is because it's already passed in your rear view. That means the time for action is long gone. If you don't find a way to let it go, it can consume your life, and before you know it, you're the old weird hermit living in the spooky house the kids throw eggs at and run away from on Halloween. I mean, I might actually dig that, but you probably have bigger aspirations. You know what famous people say about regret most of the time? Either they wish they'd done stuff they didn't, or they say they wouldn't change a thing. I guess we can't really know for sure, but I bet some of them would have answered differently if they weren't being interviewed for millions of people who looked up to them at the time. But for ordinary people like you and me who can't party, buy, or fake our way out of regret, even temporarily, it comes down to the things we did and didn't do. In fancier terms, commissions and omissions. Notice how I've been speaking in the past tense? That's because we're talking about stuff that's already happened. Think about it this way. Doesn't the world kick your ass enough? Why are you offering to help, agonizing over things you can't change? We might even tell ourselves that we deserve less than what we're getting because we feel bad. But I've got to play devil's advocate for regret because there actually is an unseen silver lining. That sinking feeling that makes us want to climb into a dumpster and file a change of address because we live in the trash now actually does us a lot more good than we realize. Try and remember something you had to work really hard for but didn't succeed at right away. I'm guessing you hadn't really sat and thought about any good that might have come out of it. A lot of times we just don't notice. Like how you don't always immediately realize you're finally over that summer cold until you've been feeling better for days. Here's what regret can do for you. Number 1. Regret can help you make sense of the world around you and give you insight. Another side effect of blowing it helps us understand things better. We learn more from what we do wrong than what we do right. You've probably had beginner's luck before, but how much did you really learn from that? I bet you remember the stuff you had to really work at a lot more vividly than the things you aced on the first try. Just having that eureka moment after struggling to attain it makes us feel really proud, even if it's over something small. You buy that good feeling with all the letdowns leading up to it. Number 2. Regret can help you do better in the future. Trial and error is how just about everything in the world around us has been figured out. We rarely get it exactly right the first time. Screwing up just because you dared to try is the most natural thing ever. As long as you're aiming for something that's actually possible, every failed attempt is one step closer to a potential success. So, hang in there, baby. Number 3. Regret helps us be better socially. I admit I wasn't always the most selfless person when I was younger, but interactions with others taught me that it's rewarding to be less of a jerk and taught me more about how and when to apologize. Number 4. Regret can teach us that we need to take risks and go for it next time. It's a crappy way to learn, but it's effective. In the short term, we tend to have more regrets about the things we choose to do, but in the long term, we usually have more regret over things we didn't do. Making mistakes earlier in life means you'll be less likely to freeze up when you have to make a similar, bigger choice later on. So it kind of sucks at the time, but your future self is going to thank you. Take advantage of everything I just listed. If you can do something to make it better, do it! Put something out into the world that offsets those gross feelings and you might find yourself letting go. If you can't change it, let it go. And don't give in to what if, accept that you can only control what you do now, and let yourself enjoy the freedom of knowing that you can't change the past. Don't blame yourself too much. Sometimes we're not working with all the information we need. Much of the time, mistakes, our own or other people's, are exactly what teach us to be our best. Without mistakes, we'd have to be perfect from go, and I'm not sure my brain could handle it, if I still had one. Failure is kind of a loaded word. When you recognize the nature of making mistakes, you'll see that shortfalls aren't places you slipped, they're steps you've built. It's normal not to follow failure with instant improvement because sometimes we need time to process the results. And sometimes we just like to wallow in it, and the way we respond to it in the meantime can vary. If you regret your credit card bill, on a good day you might get a sudden burst of motivation that leads to taking scissors to all the plastic in your wallet. On a bad day you might stuff the bill in a drawer and keep spending, promising you'll think about it tomorrow. Cycles like this can continue until we grasp what we're really doing to ourselves. If you learn to see failure for what it really represents, a valuable chance to do better, you're more likely to confront a challenge head-on than to run away. This is what I call the silver bullet for just about every type of self-reflection. Reframe the situation by putting someone else in your shoes. Try writing down whatever regret or problem is plaguing you. I'm feeling stuck because every time I try to diet, I mess up. I can't do it. I'll never be able to lose weight. It's hopeless. It's easy to beat ourselves up when we talk like this to ourselves. And we talk like this to ourselves a lot. Imagine the words come not from you, but someone you love. Suddenly, you might be horrified that they would talk to themselves like that. You know they can do it, and you understand why they would be discouraged. So whatever you would tell them, learn to start responding that way to yourself. It's not a one-day thing, but eventually, you'll at least learn to stop the spiral of negative self-talk before it gets out of hand. One last thing, don't beat yourself up for beating yourself up either. You can overachieve in much more efficient ways. Okay, so maybe your mistake has you feeling super terrible. If you keep telling yourself, I should have known better, shut that voice up. Well, you know now, don't you? Guilt is regret's toxic cousin. It nags at you over things you can't go back and fix, and it loves to tell you how you're a garbage person from Garbage Island who'll never do the right thing again. But it's wrong. Guilt isn't productive. It's a negative emotion with an extremely small window of usefulness. It's still going to stick around until you either find a way to forgive yourself or start finding ways to run away. Most people facing down a regret have three options, from most to least effective. They can put it behind them, they can think about it, or they can drink about it. By that I mean you can move forward with what you've learned, you can analyze and process your feelings in preparation for actually trying to move forward, or you can run away with anything that numbs your feelings so you don't have to think about it anymore. Which one you wind up choosing has a lot to do with how you frame the situation in your mind. If you're beating yourself up, putting it behind you is going to be a ways off until you put the bat down and get out of your own way. What do you do about something you can't change? Well, nothing. But you can put something positive out there from whatever it is you might still regret. And looking for ways you can is like aloe vera for your soul. Just writing down what you're grateful for can have an incredible effect on your outlook, and an outlook is honestly everything. Like I said before, a lot of people wind up regretting the same things in the same ways, celebrity or no. The top 5 regrets of people at the end of life have been found to easily sort into 5 recurring thoughts. I wish I'd been truer to myself. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd said what I really felt in my heart. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I'd let myself be happy. Even if you're still young, you might already be familiar with some of these. Don't panic. Just remember to keep these in mind when you have to make tough decisions. Given what science has told us, it's probably better to take risks than not to take them, but you need to recognize when you're lying to yourself in order to rationalize a bad choice too. Getting the opinion of a friend or family member you trust is always a good bet. Better if you can get 2 or more. Be willing to listen to things you don't want to hear. When you think about anything that's in your past, whether it's something you're really proud of or something you wish you could forget, picture a trophy case full of awards. We all want to have a life worthy of looking back on. But when we stay in that trophy room all day long, putting fingerprints on the case, picking up the same memories over and over, and lingering on them, we're going to waste away adding nothing of value to our lives. At the end of the day, it's not much different to obsess over good memories than bad ones. You're still choosing the past over the present. Regret works in exactly the same way. It needs to be reflected on, put down, and left in the past. So put it down, you weirdo, and get back to doing whatever it is that you love. Don't be afraid to mess it up. Don't be afraid to apologize, and mean it. And if all else fails, tattoo removal is a thing. It's better than it used to be. Not that I'd know, because I'm a coward. Oh, I gotta get a tattoo now? I don't know. Is a mistake still a mistake if it winds up doing you some good? Maybe Bob Ross was right about happy little accidents. Think of something you once thought of as a regret that might have actually worked out for the best, and leave it for me in the comments. In the meantime, go easy on yourself, would ya?